Hey guys, I was interested in building my own IP camera. I had an old Raspberry Pi laying around and I had an old USB webcam, and I was wondering if I could make my own IP camera from those two components. So I've been looking on the internet and on YouTube, and there are some examples on how you can make your own IP camera, but there's not a lot of information on how to put the IP camera on your Home Assistant dashboard. So I wanted to take you through this process and help you do it for yourself. The first thing we'll need to do is set up the Raspberry Pi so it can capture a video from the USB webcam, and later on we're going to put the stream from this webcam onto our Home Assistant. You will need a couple of software tools for this process. The first thing you will need is some terminal or SSH connection to the Raspberry Pi on which we are going to install the webcam, and we'll need the SD formatting tool to be able to format the SD the proper way. So the first thing we'll do is download NOOBS, new out-of-the-box software. I'll put the link for this download in the description, and we'll download the zip file. This might take a while. I will fast forward to when this part is done. So what NOOBS is an automatic operating system installer for your Raspberry Pi. We use NOOBS to install Raspbian. You can also install Raspbian directly on your Raspberry Pi, but I find this way a lot more easy. So while this program is downloading, we can put the SD card on which we are going to install the NOOBS software in the computer and format it so it is able to put the software on it. I'm using SD Formatter, this little application. You can download it from this site. I'll put the link in the description. So make sure you select the right card. Choose quick format. You can give it a name like Raspbian. Hit format. Gives you a little message that you're going to erase all the data on this card. Just say yes. Okay. Now the SD card is formatted. Okay, so the NOOBS software is downloaded, and quickly open it up. Extract all the files from the download. Okay, that's done. Okay, so here you see all the files that have been downloaded. Quickly copy these files onto the formatted SD card. Okay, so now the files are all copied to the SD card. Pull the SD card out of your computer and put it in the Raspberry Pi. Hook the Raspberry Pi up to a television or a monitor, whatever you want, and put a keyboard and mouse into the Raspberry Pi so you can configure it. So let's eject the SD card, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I've hooked the Raspberry Pi to the internet. I've put the SD card in. I'm going to put the power into the Raspberry Pi. Okay, so we're now going to install Raspbian onto the Raspberry Pi. Select the first operating system you'll see, which is the Raspberry Pi Raspbian, and hit install. Now the Raspberry Pi is going to download the Raspbian operating system. This will take a few minutes, so I'll be back when the download is done. Okay, so the operating system is currently installed. Hit OK. The Raspberry Pi will now reboot and start the operating system. Okay, there we go. The first time we connect, we have to configure some things for the Raspberry Pi. First of all, you have to notice the IP address in the little box above the next button. You can see your IP address. You need to remember this because we need to use this IP address to connect over SSH. First hit next. Fill in the settings for your country and language. It will automatically fill in the language and time zone. I'm going to use the US keyboard and the English language. And hit next. Now the Raspberry Pi will set things as the time zone and the language. So this might take a little while. Okay, as soon as it's done, you can change the default password for your Raspberry Pi. You can leave it blank if you want, then the username will be Pi and the password will be Raspberry. I'm going to choose my own password for security reasons. Hit next. And hit next one more time. It will now check for updates for the software. It can give an error, you can just skip this. And as soon as it's done, hit restart. Okay. So we are back in the Raspbian software. First of all, open the menu, go to Preferences, Raspberry Pi Configuration, go to Interfaces. Here we need to enable two packages. First of all, SSH, so we can use SSH to go from the computer onto the Raspberry Pi, and enable the camera package. Hit OK. It will now prompt you with a little message that a reboot is needed. Hit yes, and once again the Raspberry Pi will reboot. Okay, now the Raspberry Pi is all set up. Make sure your webcam is connected to the Raspberry Pi. And I'll see you back in a bit. You can unhook your Raspberry Pi from the monitor if you'd like. Okay, so I'm back at my computer. As I told you before, we have to install the Putty software. You can download it from this site. I'll put the link in the description. Open the Putty software and fill in the IP address that we saw on the Raspberry Pi. And hit open. It will give you a warning, just click yes. And now log in with the Pi user and the password that we chose on configuring the Raspberry Pi. Hit enter. Okay, so now we are on the Raspberry Pi. The first thing we need to do is make sure to update the package list so we know which package needs to be upgraded. So type sudo apt-get update and hit enter. It will now fetch the latest upgrades for the installed packages. This might take a little while. Okay, so the update command has been run. The next thing we need to do is upgrade these packages that need to be upgraded. So type sudo apt-get upgrade and hit enter once again. This might take a little while because the Raspberry Pi is now on the new version of Raspbian, so all the packages need to be upgraded. When it asks if you want to continue, just type a capital Y and hit enter. Okay, the Raspberry Pi is done upgrading. The next thing we need to do is install the motion package. Motion is the package that uses the webcam to be able to make a stream. So type in sudo apt-get install, because we're going to install a new package, and type in motion. Hit enter. It will again ask if you want to continue. Type capital Y and hit enter. Okay. Now we need to configure the motion package the right way. So type in sudo nano /etc/motion/motion.conf and hit enter. The configuration for the motion package is now opened in the Nano editor. We need to change a few things. The first thing we need to do is change the daemon mode to on. And if we go a little lower, there's the width attribute. You can change this to whatever ratio you'd like. I'm changing it to 1920 by 1080. The frame rate, you can change this. I'm going to put it to the maximum value of 100. And if we go a little lower, there are some more settings we need to change. Here you see output pictures. Change this to best. Change FFmpeg output movies to on if it's not already. The livestream server will be on port AT-AC1. You can change this, I'm leaving it as it is. And you can change the stream quality in percentages. I'm going to put this to 100 for the best stream quality. I'm changing the stream max rate to 100. Stream localhost needs to be off, so we will be able to connect to the stream from other IP addresses than localhost. And the last thing we need to change is the web control. We also need to change the localhost to off. Okay, close this file. Make sure you hit Y to save the file and hit enter. The next thing we need to do is make sure daemon mode is on. So type in sudo nano /etc/default/motion and hit enter. And change the node to a yes. Again, hit X, Control X, Y, enter. Okay, so if your USB camera is connected to your Raspberry Pi, this should work. Type in sudo service motion start, hit enter. This should now start the motion server. So open a new tab, go to the IP address of the Raspberry Pi and go to port 8081, hit enter, and as you see, the webcam is now working. It might not work immediately. Something you could do is stop the service by typing sudo service motion stop and then again sudo service motion start and see if it works then. There's also an HTTP view we can go to by typing port 8080. As you see, there's an HTTP view of the camera, but we're going to need this port for the Home Assistant configuration. Okay, so now that's done, we can configure the webcam stream in Home Assistant. So open your Home Assistant configuration file and we'll add the camera. Okay, so here's my Home Assistant configuration. First I'll show you my Home Assistant dashboard. As you can see, there's no camera yet. Let's go back to the configuration. On the bottom of this file, we need to add the camera. So type camera with a colon. On the next line, we need to tell what platform to use. We're going to use the MJPEG platform. On the next line, give the MJPEG URL. And this is going to be the URL to our Raspberry Pi. So type in http://192.168.178.37 with the port 8081 /MJPEG. So you need to type in your IP address of your Raspberry Pi and the port that you set in the configuration of Motion. And on the next line, you can give it a name. So I'm going to name this Huiskamer, which is Dutch for living room. So save the configuration. Go to your Home Assistant. Open the Settings, General. You can check your configuration if you want. My configuration is valid. And restart the Home Assistant server. As you see, the Home Assistant server is now disconnected. So we'll wait till it's back on. Okay, so there it is again. Go to the dashboard of your Home Assistant. Quickly reload. And as you see, the camera is now working. The thing you see here is a still image of the webcam when I reloaded the page. And when we click on the webcam, we will now see this stream. So as you see on the right bottom of the camera, you see the time, the current time. So that's it. I hope you managed to get this working. Hit the like button if you like this video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm probably going to make more Home Assistant related videos in the future if you like this one. So thanks for watching, and I hope you get this working.